Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the Premier Chess Winter 2021 virtual class, Adult Intermediate, and this is week 2. And so we're going to be talking about territorial domination, how to use pawns to dominate and control your opponent and restrict movement of their pieces. So this is a game between Capablanca, Jose Raul Capablanca, and Emmanuel Lasker, 1921 in Havana. So everybody know who those players are, by the way?
Yes.
Who's white and black?
So Capablanca is white and Lasker is black. Capablanca, I believe Lasker, he's the second world champion, right? And Capablanca would be the third, I think. And so
Lasker was the longest world champion. He reigned the longest.
Yeah, he did. So it's amazing accomplishment. All right, so in this position, it's white to move. So what does everyone think the best move is here for white? What do you think?
Possibly E4. No?
E4. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at E4. So E4. Okay, it is a possibility.
Just consolidating the center.
Yeah, it is a possibility. The thing is that it does create a little weakness here.
Yeah.
On D4. Now the D4 pawn is no longer protected by a pawn, therefore it must be protected by pieces, which makes it kind of weak, right? So, but yeah, E4 does look like it's calling to be played. So Capablanca did not do E4 in this position. So what else do you think?
Bishop takes D5.
Bishop takes D5. I think that would benefit black. So what do you think? What do you think would be the best reply to that?
Oh, I didn't think about it. Black would do E takes D5.
Takes D5.
Say again?
E takes D5.
Yeah, E takes D5. Now the bishop is free, right? So we're actually helping the black position if we capture the knight. Also, we're giving up a bishop, which most masters do not do willingly. And also, I think although having said that, I think Capablanca has said that he much prefers knights over bishops, which is interesting observation there. Okay, what else?
I would look at putting the knight on E5.
Knight on E5. All right, cool. Okay, that is good. I'd say that's a little bit premature though, because I think that he'll just kick it away quickly, something like that, maybe. But okay, good idea. Anything else? Peter, you had your hand raised. Did you have an idea?
I was just gonna say if you play E4, then they can play knight F4.
If I play E4, all right. So let's look at that. E4.
But that was a while ago.
Knight F4. All right, let's look at it. Knight F4. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you want to kick away this knight from here as well, something like that.
Or rook C to D1. Does that do anything?
Here or in the beginning position?
Or let's see. Instead of G3, rook C to D1.
Rook C to D1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good move. I like that because now we're putting the rook on the same line as the queen.
Right.
And offering more protection to the loose D4 pawn. Okay.
You could also do rook F to D1, like the rook on is doing nothing. It's actually better because
that's true. That's true. If we go E4, knight F4, probably better would have been rook. The F rook.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So now we're activating this.
Rook F to D1.
And the C rook is on the half open file, so that's nice.
Right.
So given that we do want to place a rook there, so Capablanca chose to move the rook now, and
that was the right move.
That was his move. That was his move. So he wanted to play. His plan is to gain space with E4 with tempo, right? Attacking the knight, and so in doing that. Putting the rook on D1 first to maybe solidify protection over the knight, right? Okay, so now...
And also support D5 in the future.
And maybe support D5 as well, yeah. So now we have bishop d7. Okay, so now e4 is the next logical move. Now, what do you think is the best move here for black?
Knight to b6.
Okay, so knight b6 is what Lasker played. That's given as a question mark, so a slight mistake or inaccuracy. So, and the reason why do you think they gave that as a slight mistake? What do you think? Any reason you can think of?
Well, the only reason I would think of is because, it puts that piece over on the queen side, and black's king side is looking more and more exposed, especially after bishop to d3, maybe.
Okay. Anybody else? Any reason why knight b6 was given a question mark?
I guess because it's causing black to lose some control in the center, whereas now white has a lot of control in the center.
Yeah, white definitely is dominating the center, definitely in this position. I mean, look at the black position right now, right? The knight is on f8, very passive. Bishop is blocked in by his own pawns. Rook is doing nothing, really, blocked by his pawns. This rook is doing nothing. This queen is barely doing anything. So black has a very cramped position, and white comparatively has much more freedom in mobility and scope, right? So if you are in a position where you are cramped, what can you do to alleviate your cramped nature? What can you do? What is
Get some pieces off the board.
right? Trade.
Yeah.
So definitely knight takes c3 is definitely called for in this position. Now black has one less piece to contend with, and now he's feeling a little bit freer, right? So definitely knight takes c3. Let's see, it doesn't matter maybe here. I mean, white still has a very nice position, but I think that's much better than knight b6, right?
I mean, you could also do counterplay on the queen side, because after b takes, you could also do b5 followed by a5.
You could. That's true. Yeah. So knight takes c3 definitely much better. Okay, so knight b6. And where would you want to put the bishop?
B3 to support D5.
Okay, b3.
To support that push eventually.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, definitely want to save it, right? You definitely want to save it. So here, Capablanca just saved it all the way back here. He tucked it away. So bishop f1. Now, what would you play for black here? Best move.
Rook to c8.
Very good. Rook to c8. Yeah. So remember, whenever you're thinking, you don't know what to do or you don't have a plan, a good question to ask yourself is, are all my pieces active, right? So, or which piece could be improved, right? So the knight could be improved. Knight to g6 would have been a nice move too to improve that. Rook c8, rook's not doing anything. So yeah, very simple developing moves like that. Very good. So rook c8. And also putting the rook on the same line as the queen. So very good move. Okay. So now what do you think white responded with?
Queen B3.
Queen B3.
To continue supporting the D5 push.
Okay. So I think here now, I think black can improve his position. How?
c5.
Yeah, c5 is a nice opening move, right? So if he takes, now this rook all of a sudden becomes very active and very nice. If he doesn't take, if he pushes, now we can take here, and now this rook becomes nice and active, right? So so either way, c5 is a nice freeing move for black. So considering that, what do you think is the best move, or what do you think is the best move that
B4.
you would play? B4, yeah, B4
I
is a
play B4.
very nice prophylactic move, controlling c5 and completely preventing c5. Controlling and preventing the move c5, the freeing move. So, yeah, very nice preventative move, Capablanca. Okay, so now we have bishop e8. So now you can see black is like shuffling his pieces around. He's really got no solid concrete plan. He's kind of waiting for white to, expose his intentions here. Okay, so what do you think for white here? What do you think?
A4.
Say again? A4. You said
A4.
A4, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. A4. All right. Pretty good. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Although Capablanca instead chose to just get his queen off of this C file. He didn't want any tricks at all. So queen B3 also maybe supports a push here if he wants to do that. So yeah, queen B4 is a nice move. Okay, so rook E to C7. And now he goes A4, gaining more space. And now look, compare the pawn structure between black and white. Look how much control these pawns have. It's very nice, powerful center control of the center and the queen side, right? And black is basically helpless to do anything. Cannot do anything. All right. Black goes knight G6, trying to develop his knight. And now what do you think best move is here for white?
You could push the knight again with A5.
Push the knight. Let's see. A5. Yes, A5 is a very nice move. It's gaining space at the same time attacking. So doing two things at once. So this is the other thing that I tell a lot of my students is that, in chess we only get a chance to move once, right? We move once, our opponent moves once, right? So if we can have our moves accomplish multiple goals, right? We need multi-purpose moves, right? So very, very often when I see grandmaster games, if one of them is being attacked and they have the possibility to defend and attack simultaneously, they'll do that, right? Because you don't want to just be the one that's passively defending, right? So if you can simultaneously attack and defend, even better, right? So very nice multi-purpose move, gaining space and attacking with tempo. So knight d7. Okay, so now what do you think? Best move here?
As the phrase always go, the player with the most space can find time to maneuver, actually. So if I were like white, I would start some type of piece maneuver. And I think that, even though if a piece is doing well and actually is a good piece, sometimes, you don't need it there anymore. So what I was thinking of is like knight A4, actually. May seem counterintuitive,
Knight
but like
A4.
white.
Okay, so knight A4, maybe heading to C5. Maybe. Okay. Anybody else?
Bishop C4.
Bishop C4. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right, let's see what happens with Bishop C4. I don't know. Maybe he can even go try this move. Maybe. Yeah, maybe try to extricate himself. Although, actually, you know what? No, that might not be a good move because now now we're opening up the rook on the queen.
Right.
So yeah, that wouldn't be good. All right, possibility. Maybe come here, something like that. Yeah, probably knight F6, improve his knight. Yeah, I would say that would be a nice move. All right, so anybody else?
Well, maybe G3 with the idea of getting the bishop out the other side and also keeping knight F5 out.
Oh, you coming to H3, you mean?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
And also preventing knight to f5.
Preventing. Oh, right. Knight here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? What do you think? Good move here for white.
I guess you could push the pawn on to d5.
You could push the pawn. I think that would help black actually.
And I wouldn't do that because
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 now
of the
we're
both the
double-
rooks are.
yeah, now we're opening up double rooks on the C file, bearing down on this knight, which now can no longer be used to control D5. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one. You don't want to open up these ones.
Yeah, no. Or you could actually another possibility was to possibly play a6 actually.
A6. Let's see here. A6. Maybe just push here, and now maybe C5 could occur, because now it doesn't matter what you do. There's going to be exchanges on C5, right? So that might help black, maybe.
Yeah,
How-
no. Yeah, maybe
how about
knight a4
pushing-
is a better idea.
Say
How
again.
about pushing e5, making room for the knight to jump into e4?
E5, yeah, E5. So what does E5 do? Right, E5 grabs territory and it keeps the knight out of F6, which would have been a beautiful way to improve that piece situation, as well as creating a beautiful outpost for one of our knights, right, to get to D6 hopefully, and that would be a very nice square. Of course, when you're pushing pawns, you got to be careful, because pawns are the only piece that cannot move backwards, right? So what does that mean? Every pawn push is permanent, and every pawn push creates weaknesses, right? So you have to be very careful when you're pushing pawns, that you're not giving too much counterplay to your opponent.
Now
right?
you got the backward D4.
It is backward. That's true. And also you're giving, in a sense, you are giving black D5 complete control over D5. But Capablanca has deduced from this position that D6 is much more important than D5, right? So he would rather control D6 than maintain his control over D5, right? So okay, so let's continue. So black goes B6, preparing this pawn break and trying to hopefully opening up these scary looking rooks there. And what do you think is white's best move here?
Knight e4.
Yeah, knight e4, beautiful move, very
Yeah.
simple. Eyeing on d6, and that's hard to do anything about. Yep. Any question? Okay, so knight e4. Okay, so now he goes rook b8. Okay, so now he's threatening to take on here and starting an attack on the white queen on b3, right? So
It would
and this
up
pawn
to
would be
this
pinned.
point as white. I don't want my opponent to open up the game, so I would go a6 now.
You would go a6 now. Okay, a6 now, and yeah,
You wouldn't take
probably
this-
yeah, probably that the c5 would be pretty good here, because it doesn't matter which side he takes. Once the b pawn takes, not the rook will be open on the queen, so it's going to be uncomfortable for.
You know you don't have to actually take on c5. You could still play knight d6 here actually, and that
You could do knight d6. That's true. You
and
could.
that whatever way if he takes was the that's probably the best way. And so
And now these two knights are about to capture the pawns, so the pawn's looking very weak, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So let's go back.
What about rook takes C6 now?
Rook
Oh
takes.
no, I'm sorry. My mistake. I didn't.
No.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. Okay. So anybody else? So we have a6. What else? Any other ideas here? What do you guys think? It's easy if you just imagine your Capablanca, okay? Then you know exactly the correct move to play, okay? Don't stress about it. I like explaining Capablanca to people who don't know him. You know, I say that they describe him as a machine. That one stat of him is he elevated his chess skill to such a level that in 10 years he didn't lose one game. And in the course of playing many tournaments of like top level chess, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course, he was an endgame wizard as well. All right, so the current threat is B takes A5, right?
Right.
So what do you think would be a suitable response to that?
Rook to A1.
Rook to A1. Okay. All right. So let's say takes maybe, and now black has the B file to use, and yeah. Actually, you know what? No. Oh yeah. Sorry. Right. Yeah. So now black is threatening here. He's also threatening to take the rook, winning a rook.
Yeah.
Oh.
So okay. All right. Anybody else? Everybody know the KISS method, right? You know what that acronym stands for? Everybody?
Keep it
No,
simple.
I've never heard that.
Never heard that. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. So you guys are looking for complex.
Yeah.
Takes
A
B.
takes B6.
Okay, you can take. That's true. That is one way. Okay, that's one possibility, and then maybe
Why
he
not
can still
take
do
with the
this.
rook?
But how about even simpler? Just get the queen off of the B file, right? So very
Oh.
simply, Capablanca is like, you know what? Let me just get the queen off. So he goes queen C3, right? All right. So that was his solution to that very thorny problem. Knight F4, targeting the nice square on D5. Okay, and very logical. Knight D6, obtaining the outpost, and black does the exact same thing. So now, where do you think we should move the queen? What do you think?
Not E1.
Queen A1? Oh, E1 you said?
E1, yeah.
Okay, let's see. Queen E1.
Protecting that E pawn if necessary.
All right. I mean, it kind of takes the queen out of the game.
Yeah.
It's pretty far away. I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessary to go that far away. What do you guys think? What else?
Queen D2.
Queen D2. All right. Pretty good. All right. Anything else?
Michael.
What else?
Maybe. Oh yeah. There's also Queen C4.
Queen C4. Okay. So in this game, or in this position, white has a light squared bishop, right? And so, I mean, Queen C4 kind of blocks the scope of the bishop, so there's no need to do that. So why not control the dark squares with the queen if you know your bishop is controlling the light squares, right? So
Oh, I see.
in anticipation of taking, the dark square diagonal will be open, right? So for that reason, he plays Queen A3.
Oh.
Okay. Very nice move. Okay. And now we have
Hate her breast.
F6. Okay, so now what does F6 threaten?
F takes E5, D takes E5, knight takes E5, queen takes D6.
Yeah. So the knight is becoming a little bit shaky, right?
Yeah.
So he's threatening to take twice on E5, and if he yeah, if he goes E takes, F takes, D takes, and then knight takes, white doesn't have time to take on E8 because white has a nice, black has a nice in between move. Knight takes F3 check, and so yeah, it's gonna be nice for white, black. I mean, all right. So so what do you think best move is here for white?
King H1.
Queen H1.
I said King H1.
Oh, you said King H1. Sorry, sorry. King H1. All right.
It doesn't work anymore.
All right, that's true. That's true. Okay, possibility. Anybody else?
I mean, we do not want to lose that knight outpost. Like, you know, E takes F6 would help black, but you know, there's this other principle in which Alekhine did this too in game against Nimzowitsch when he played Bishop D2 instead of like A3, and where, you know, in the position normally you won't do this, but he decided to take the bishop on E8. Like normally the French bishop is a bad bishop, but you know, instead he took it on B7 because he knew that he can control light square, which is worth more. So I guess like in this position, let's do bishop knight takes E8 because, you know, now your bishop dominates the light squares.
Oh, so you would take the bishop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, here, yeah, Capablanca. So one thing is, when you're slowly controlling more and more squares, using your pawns to increase your space and the scope of your pieces. So that's one advantage. But then it comes a point where you have to give back. You have to say, okay, if I continue to maintain control of the squares that I have, it's not going to be as powerful, right? It's not going to be as effective, right? So basically what I'm saying is a master player will know when to convert that advantage into a different advantage, right? So here Capablanca says, okay, I'm this pawn is beginning to become shaky, and as a consequence this knight is going to become shaky, so let me just trade away the knight first right now, and we'll see the resulting position after all these trades. Take back. Okay, now what do you think?
Why take with the pawn, not with the knight?
You could take with the knight. Which knight? This knight, I assume?
D knight. Knight 7 to F6.
Yeah. I mean, this pawn is pretty weak. You know, now the pawn, you know, white controls E5 pretty strongly, and can very easily pile up on it. I think maybe here, maybe double up, something like that. You know, or maybe bring the bishop out first. So yeah, this pawn I think would become a significant weakness. So yeah. All right. So take. Okay. And now, what do you think best move for white here?
Rook to E1.
Rook to E1. Okay, that is good. Putting the rook on the same file as the queen, and putting pressure on E6. Okay, that's not a bad move. It's not what he chose, but not a bad move. Anybody else?
Well, I don't have a specific move in general, but at this point, would you want to start going after the king? He's very exposed.
How would you do that?
I either bring your queen over or bring the bishop out. Bishop's not doing a ton.
So maybe bishop on D3, right? Maybe that. All right. I mean, it's going to take a few moves to get the rooks over there, to get the queen over there. You got to move the knight first. So it doesn't look easy to mount a kingside attack in this position, right?
Right.
So yeah.
But that would kind of be my question, is in a position like this, would you be trying to start a kingside attack, or would you want to consolidate the pieces more first?
Well, in this position, it seems what this position is calling for is not necessarily kingside attack, even though the black king is defended. I mean, it's not that easy to attack him. The queen can come to defend. The knight moves maybe f8, and the rook comes to g7, and so the king can become pretty nicely defended. And now even he can mount a little attack on the king, on the white king, right? So so in this kind of position, the reason that Capablanca chose to make all these exchanges is he's going to just target weaknesses in the black position as a result of all these exchanges, right? So for that reason, he's going for even more exchanges, actually. So in this position, he goes b5,
I
right?
actually was thinking about that move. I just thought that b5 was bad because it hangs the pawn, but I thought it hangs the pawn, but it really doesn't because the bishop defends it, and
Right.
the rook on c7, even though it's protected, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So b5, he wants to trade off as many pawns as he can, create some weaknesses, maybe have a single isolated pawn here, and just focus on weaknesses. So yes, I mean, yeah, he's just trying to get as many isolated weak pawns. We have an isolated pawn here. If he succeeds in trading off these two black pawns, we're gonna have another isolated pawn here, and then these two can be pretty weak. So yeah, that's the basic goal of the position now. Okay, so rook b to c8. Okay, and now a takes b6. Oh, sorry, not a takes b6. Sorry. B takes c6. Rook takes. Rook takes, trade. Now he's achieved his goal of having this one isolated weak pawn here. And so now he's got targets that he can focus on, right? And this could be a target perhaps as well, right? So now what do you think best move is here for white?
Bishop to b5.
Bishop to b5, okay. Not a bad move. Not a bad move at all. I like it. Not what he played, but not a bad move. Maybe if he tries to attack, you can come here, and that's going to be a nice attack there. Okay, good. Anybody else?
Rook c1, continue the trade-offs.
Rook c1. I think that would help. I think that would help black because we do want to keep on some pieces to focus on the weak points in black's position, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would definitely help black's position. He's a little bit more comfortable now, right? So yeah. What else?
Wait a minute. Rook b1.
Okay, rook b1. Okay, I mean, it does focus on this pawn, although it's pretty heavily guarded, so it's not really a threat at the moment. So yeah, what else?
I came up.
Say again?
Nothing. Daniel. How do I say your name?
Danilo.
Danilo.
Yeah.
I can't think. Wait, maybe rook e1.
Yeah, rook e1. Yeah, again, keep it simple, right? So we look at which pieces can be improved. So bishop b5 is definitely a good move, I think. This kind of blockading the pawn a little bit, and it's nice that the heavy pieces are on the light square diagonal. So that's a pretty good move. But also equally pretty good move is rook e1, sorry, putting the rook on the same file as the queen. Okay, and beginning to focus a little bit on the weakness here. Okay, queen c8. Okay, now what do you think?
Then bishop e5.
Okay, so bishop b5. Let's see. All right. All right. Maybe here. Let's say
Queen d6.
here, and now he can drop the knight back, and everything's pretty nicely protected here. He's kind of holding it together by a string, but everything's nicely protected here.
Okay.
You know, it's funny. It's funny when you look at these games from these like world champions and top grandmasters, and then you read in the book, it says this is a completely lost position for black, and then in your mind you're like, okay, but if I'm white, I still wouldn't be able to win against a completely lost position against Carlsen. Can I win? Can I beat Carlsen if he had a completely lost position? So it amazes me the amount of how do you say, the resistance that these top players put even in a so-called lost position, right? So okay, so yeah, queen c8. So basically here, Capablanca. So yeah, so bishop b5 is also good move again, but here he chose to improve the position of his knight, right? So knight d2, right? Rerouting it, maybe e4, maybe targeting f6, maybe targeting d6, and maybe wanting to provoke f5, and then that would create ultra weakness on e6, right? So yeah, knight d2. Okay, knight f8, providing more protection to e6. So now the very logical knight e4. Okay, so now we have queen d8. So yeah, black can't do much to attack. He's pretty much focused on defending right now. He's just waiting for white to break through. All right, what else do you guys think in this position? Good move for white here.
Queen to f3.
Okay, so queen f3 is good. Yeah, so now, as you can see, now that the knight is gone from f3, now the third rank is open for perhaps including a kingside attack or just a check if there happens to be a unprotected piece on these squares, right? d6, c7, or b8. So we can possibly do a fork there. So yeah, so queen f3. Okay, that's good too. Increasing pressure on f6. Okay, anything else?
I think it's time to probably do something with the bishop. It's not doing anything on f1, so probably a good move is bishop b5.
Okay, bishop b5 continuing to be a good move.
No, because the problem is the fact that now rook c3 is no longer an option.
Yeah, rook c3 is not an option, so maybe he goes back to c7 and tries to reroute here and protect his king a little bit more, right? So it could be helping black a little bit if he's able to do that. So yeah. Okay, anything else? What else do you think here? So in this position, Capablanca chose to advance some of his pawns to try to establish a weakness, a permanent weakness on the black king side, right? So he advances to h4, right, attempting to either provoke f5 maybe.
That's not an obvious move.
Say again?
Daniano, that's not even an obvious move. Like, although we should kiss it, but however, this is time not to kiss it because this is not time not to kiss it because h4 is a move that isn't considered we would call kiss. I mean, for strong amateurs.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you shouldn't kiss it. That's true.
Like, I don't get this, but why is h4 played even though it's something most players wouldn't do?
Well, maybe that's what separates you and I from Capablanca, perhaps, right? So yeah, h4 Nice move. You know, conveniently creates loft for the king, and also begins to try to control squares on the black king side, and probably prevent knight g6 from the knight from activating itself. Okay, so rook c7. Then we have queen b3. Okay, so now rook reroutes itself to the king side. Okay, so now providing protection to his king and perhaps applying some pressure onto g2. So we have g3. Rook goes back to a7, trying to do something on the a file. So, all right, so now what do you think?
I think you got to activate the bishop. I don't know whether it's bishop to h3 or bishop to
C4.
c4 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, bishop to h3, bishop c4. Yeah, so you're right. He decides to activate his bishop. Bishop c4 is the move he chooses. So now, what is the threat that white has in order in this position?
Winning the b pawn.
No,
No,
there's another
no,
threat. What do you think?
that doesn't work. Yeah.
There's another threat.
I know this may sound crazy, but considering how Evan says tactics come from a player
So-
who has the best position, I think it's probably time to do bishop takes d5, and if queen takes, then knight f6. But wait a minute, yeah, I think that's the right move. So bishop takes d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, check. And if you take my queen, then I do knight f6 and fork. You do a royal fork and basically win a pawn.
Very nice, very nice. You win. No,
I
you
can
win.
win 2 pawns.
You win 2 pawns. You win 2 pawns. Very nice. Yeah, bishop takes d5.
Is it called a royal fork?
Takes.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's a royal fork. Yeah, bishop takes d5, e takes, queen takes, temporary sacrifice, queen takes back, knight f6, beautiful royal fork. Right. So for that,
Why is it called a royal fork? That's a weird way. If you attack like a bishop, it's a family fork. I don't get why it's called that.
Because the king and queen are royalty. Well, why else?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but how come when you attack a rook and a bishop along with a queen and a king, it's a family fork? Why is it called that?
I don't know. Some things in
Don't
life
think a
just
knight
happen.
is considered royalty.
I guess not. Guess not.
Definitely not in Arthurian times. It wouldn't be.
Right. All right. So bishop c4. How do you think black responded to bishop c4? How would you respond?
Knight c7 or rook d7.
Knight c7. Let's see. So that drops the pawn.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's okay. Rook d7. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe he would want to take anyway. Actually, no, I don't think that works. Maybe because now he could just take with the rook, and now he's going to win this pawn. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it works. All right, let's go back. All right, rook d7 looks like a sturdy defense. But he played rook a5, and it might be slightly better because again, when you can do a move that does simultaneous things, so it maintains control over the a file as well as protecting. So multi-purpose move, very nice. All right, so now Capablanca goes knight c3, applies more pressure to the knight. Knight takes, queen takes. Okay, black moves. What do you think? Best move here?
King to g7.
King g7, and now you drop the pawn. Right?
Yeah.
So no, not king g7. What else?
What about queen d6?
Queen e6.
I said d6.
Oh, sorry, d6. Yeah, d6. Yeah, that's a good move. That's an okay move. Yeah, maybe he. Let's see. What would he do here? Maybe try to reroute the rook to the king side, something like that, perhaps. All right. So yeah, queen d6 is a good move. So Lasker chose king f7, protecting the pawn with the king. So now we have queen e3, again increasing pressure on the e6 pawn. So how would you respond to that? What do you think?
Queen d6 now.
Yeah, queen d6, pretty much forced here. Okay. And now what would you do for white here?
Sluts.
So in this kind of position, it's like it's like a lot of beginners that are just learning chess and having trouble with strategy. They're like, I know how to get a good position, but once I'm in a good or I know to let's say improve my pieces, get them to active locations, then I have no idea what to do. I don't know about strategy. What should I do next? So that's really,
I think it's time to do the thing that white does. Considering the fact that, yeah, no, I think it's time for tactics. I think the move that white needs to play here is just d5 up to this point.
d5. Okay, so that just drops the pawn.
Are you sure about that? Because no, it's worth it because if you can go queen e8 check.
Okay, so let's see.
And
queen
then
e8 check. Let's see. He can come back here.
No, if you go king g8, then you go rook e7 and
okay, rook e7.
You could go rook e7.
Okay. Let's see here. I mean, I guess if he really was forced to, he could sacrifice the queen, and it's probably winning, but it's not as clear cut. Okay, so yeah, probably winning. All right, let's see.
I mean, it's actually it may look like not clear cut, but however, the thing about that position is that white is still winning, and it's actually much easier because the knight is passive and the pawns are very weak actually.
All right. So yeah, so that's an interesting pawn sacrifice to open up the e file to invade on e8. Okay. Any other idea?
I mean, if king g7, you would just go rook e7 check.
Yeah, king g7 seems like it loses. Yeah, to rook e7 check, and if he goes here, you take the knight with check. And yeah, that pretty.
And if he goes king h8, it's checkmate.
Yeah, if he goes king h8, that's mate. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, so he could open up that. All right. So what else? Anybody else have an idea?
Why
so again, he doesn't have to take.
Yeah, exactly.
He can just.
Why can't you here play exactly? Why can't black play e5?
Yeah, you can just push forward and it kind of be hard to get through here, and now black may have a chance to maybe bring the knight here, something like that.
And the white bishop is weakened.
Bring the rook here. Yeah, the bishop is now blocked by the pawn. So yeah. So as much as possible, we don't want to block our pieces if we can help it. So in this position, queen e4 was the move Capablanca played. He wanted to invade along the light squares, perhaps. Okay, and Lasker responded with rook a4, queen b7 check, king g6, queen c8. Okay, and targeting the e6 pawn, queen b4. Okay, putting pressure on here and the unprotected rook. So rook c1, queen drops back, bishop d3 check, king h6. What would you play here for white?
Rook c7.
Yeah, definitely. You want to invade with tempo. Rook c7, very nice move. Okay, so rook a1. So black's position is starting to fall apart. Rook a1 check, king h2. queen d6. And now what do you think best move here is?
Can you sack your queen takes knight
Yeah,
check?
queen takes knight.
Followed by rook takes 8-7.
Yes, queen takes f8 finishes the deal, finishes the game. So yeah, so Capablanca was not known for wild, brilliant sacrifices like Tal. You know, he was very methodical, very slow, and you know, very positional in nature. And like this is a you know how I think, did you just say it, Jim, that tactics arise out of a superior position? Did you say that? I don't know if
Yeah,
someone
I
here said
did.
that.
Actually, it came from Evan, but I
Okay,
believe
cool.
a famous quote came in because you know the phrase, you know, that a bad plan is better than no plan. That was actually said by Frank Marshall.
Okay, cool.
Remember, a lot of the quotes we often hear comes from like very good chess players. Actually,
Yes.
they're
Oh
not.
yeah. Yeah. So
Why is it that?
and I think also Bobby Fischer was quoted as saying, yeah, yeah, tactics flow out of a superior position. So yeah, so
That was Fisher who said that.
Was it? Maybe, I don't know. Could be. but yeah. So anyway, you know, it's not necessary like Tal, you know, to do these obscure and you know, unclear sacrifices. That if you just slowly improve your position, control squares, and remove squares from your opponent inch by inch, eventually, you know, the tactics will basically reveal themselves to you if you know, pay attention, of course. That's why you do your puzzles. But yeah, so here this position was just calling for queen takes f8, forcing queen takes f8, and rook h7 is a beautiful mate on h6. So yeah, I think this is a great illustration.
Actually, that was said by Fisher.
Was it said by Fisher? Awesome.
Tactics flow from superior position. That was Fisher's quote.
Awesome. My memory serves me correctly. Good. I'm not that old yet. That's good. So
that guy was good, but I mean, not to go off topic, but I'm going to say this: that guy was good, but also crazy. It's true.
Well, I mean,
you know who I'm referring to, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fisher, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that guy. Like, I'm like, he was so good in chess, but why couldn't he just get along with everyone? That's a sad thing.
You know, why can't we all just get along? I have no idea. That's another question for the ages. So what do you all think of this game? Any questions, comments, suggestions, observations? What do you think? Was it yeah? Any comments? No?
Yeah, it's a good example. But I think, like Jim said a little bit earlier, you know, finding like that H4 move is at least difficult for me to even think that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, and that's why I see the value of going over such you know, high class games like this, because when you see how these masters think, it gives you ideas in your own games, right?
Sure.
So yeah. I mean, there's benefit in going over your own games as well as going over these master games. So I think yeah. And yeah, I'm just very impressed by his masterful use of pawns, his understanding of pawns and what they can do and can't do. And I'll just say this also: if you want to appreciate the power of pawns, have any of you ever tried playing the chess variant Horde on Lichess? Anybody here tried that? Horde, Horde. It's check it out. Give it a try. So basically what it is black has regular pieces and white has 36 pawns. and the goal for black is just to capture all of white's pawns, and the goal of white is you know, either smother black's king with the pawns, checkmate that way, or just promote a queen and checkmate that way. And usually if white promotes a queen, game is over because there's just so many pawns that black can't do anything. But yeah, I often recommend that variant to students because it really teaches you what pawns can and can't do and their weaknesses, right? For example, a pawn by itself is definitely a weakness, but a pawn when it's connected with its brothers, it's much more powerful, right?
Yeah, excuse me, Daniano. I rarely play chess variant because, you know, I'm focused more on getting good in the game itself. Maybe if I'm in my 50s or 60s or probably 40s or 30s, it's different. But like even then, though, you know, like have the problem that there's been some criticism of like chess variants, like i.e. suicide chess, and I thought it was pronounced
Yeah,
Buckhouse.
I don't.
Actually pronounced.
I don't evaluate all variants as being equal. I think there are some are much better than others. And
Yeah,
I
but
think
what's the
Ford-
problem with Bughouse? Is it pronounced Bug or Buckhouse? I heard it as Buck, or is it Bug?
I think it's Bughouse. But yeah.
Yeah, but why is it a
Horde-
bad way to teach?
Huh?
Why is it bad? Why is the game of Bughouse bad? Why is it bad?
I think some chess teachers don't like Bughouse because it's I think there's no positional nature to it. It's all about tactics, which you can say it is good on the one hand. It does exercise your tactical skill, but it's not anything to do with positional nuance, because when pieces are flying your way, who cares about position, right? So
like a person could be down the knife, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to be like, wait a minute, I could just get my piece from the other guy, just use it against screw you up.
So yeah. So any other questions about this game? What do you guys think?
Well, I have a question regarding learning more about pawns. Obviously, the variant you mentioned is a good place to start.
Yeah.
I think what I noticed most from this game is that I would never make a lot of these moves because I don't feel comfortable enough to commit my pawns to that sort of position. So how can I get better at that? And should that be something I'm trying to do right now, or should I be focusing on other stuff first?
No, I think understanding the power of pawns is essential. And I've gotten this comment about my own play is people say, "Wow, Danilo, you just push your pawns constantly," and it's true. I think so many chess players belittle the value of pawns. They don't. They think, "Oh, it's just a pawn. It's not worth anything." And a lot of beginners, what do they do the most? They try to bring out the rooks. They say, "Oh, the rook is a strong piece. The queen is a strong piece. Let me bring out the queen first," right? But of course, as you get better, you understand that no, the queen is very valuable and strong, and that's why you don't want to bring it out early, because you can lose it very quickly.
And also the thing about the rooks is the fact that here's the thing people don't even realize. The rooks are the only pieces on the chessboard that have the same number of squares no matter where they are. So if a rook is in the center or in the corner, it's going to have to control the same number of square. Rooks don't need to be centralized to control things. Like, for example, rook on the A-file.
Rooks can be they can be restricted by their own pieces. They could be, but yeah. There's a great quote from the X-Men movie, I think the third one, where Magneto says, "In chess, the pawns go first." So what does that mean? In chess, the pawns go first. So pawns are great in the use of opening up lines for your big pieces, for your bishops, for your long range, bishops, rooks, and queens. Great, and also if you're a masterful use of pawns can yield a superior position just by itself. Like I just use pawns. If I can outplay my opponent just by using my pawns, even better. I don't even have to use my pieces. Okay, then if I need more help, then use the pieces as well. But I can play. I've played games with beginners, and I'm just using my pawns, and they're like, "Oh my God, you just you just destroyed with your pawns," because so many beginners discount the value and the strength of that a pawn can be. Right. So yeah, I think it's so important to understand pawn play.
You mean, yeah. I mean, sometimes outplay isn't really thing. Sometimes that sometimes your pawn can be like, I could use this pawn to fork or simply just win piece after piece. Because, for example, don't assume that just because you have an easy win, that means you outplayed your opponent. For example, the Morphe game, that he did not outplay his opponent. They were just bad from the beginning. What's the difference someone versus something like in the Opera House game? How come the thing with Morphe isn't the whole he outplayed him? It's a whole you made so many bad moves that I didn't even outplay you. So what does that mean anyway?
I mean, it's true. I mean, if you look at master games, like, that's why they're even more valuable, because it's like these are not beginners. These are people that play really, high.
Yeah, but how come the Morphe game should not be used as a way to demonstrate what can happen in all chess games? Like I speak to Steve, he says that I understand how the Morphe games used to illustrate development, but
yeah,
I wouldn't use that game to describe what happens in all players. Steinitz versus Lasker, where Lasker's down 2 pawns, is a better way to do it. But
so before we go, I just want to give you guys another recommendation. I don't know if I'm going to see you guys again since I'm the substitute teacher. So I recommend Horde as being an excellent variant to learn how to use pawns and how to understand their power. And then another variant I would highly recommend, even more highly than regular chess
King of the hill?
is chess 960. So, and does anybody have an idea why I would recommend that?
He just used to deal with different positions and how to play
Because
different positions.
yeah, chess 960. Does anybody know a synonym of chess 960? What another name for it?
Random chess.
Okay, more specifically, Fisher Random. It was created by Bobby Fischer. And what was the reason that he created it? Because he was disgusted, basically, by all of these books devoted towards opening theory, right? And or not even understanding, memorizing complex opening variations. And in his mind, and I agree with him, is that I don't think chess is about memorization, right? Chess is about the ability to recognize tactical opportunities, positional nuance, how to strategize, how to use, your creativity, how to be creative and use your imagination, right? And if you're stuck, like, you have the same opening position and you're like, okay, I'm a D4 player. I always play D4, right? I don't know. You fall into a rut. And so the first couple of moves, everybody's got their first couple of moves that they always play. And I don't know, to me, it gets kind of boring and trite. So for that reason, Fisher Random completely throws the opening books out of the window, and there's 960 possible opening setups on the back rank, right, for the first rank and the 8th rank. Castling is still allowed. Bishops of opposite color, there's bishops of opposite colors and everything, and everything else is the same. And so what's the difference is from move 1, you're thinking on your toes. You're not relying on any opening preparation. And I think that evens the playing field, right? Because I don't think chess is about memorization. Chess is about creativity. It's about imagination and understanding positional, nuance and positional philosophy. So that's my other big recommendation for you guys is practice with chess 960. I have 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old. I have them practice more with 960 than with regular chess. And I think that it's almost like, what it's like? I draw an analogy. It's like being multilingual. You can learn one language, that's great. But if kids learn many languages, that doesn't detract from one of the languages. That just adds to their ability to communicate, right? And in the same way, when you can play with dexterity many different opening positions, it will strengthen your general understanding of chess. So yeah. I'll give you guys those recommendations. So, all right, cool. So good talking to you guys. Good seeing you guys. Maybe I'll see you again. I don't know.
Thanks very much.
If Evan does another,
Appreciate it.
ask me. Yeah. Great talking to you guys. All right. So hope you guys have a wonderful night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank